Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you back to the time of the hour. In today's broadcast, I want to take you into a deep dive into some of the history behind the information movement and also the history of the occult think tank. To do that, there's the name of a man that I need to tell you. Excuse the sniffles. I'm having some allergies. I've also been eating some bullshit, so I have a little bit of mucus. The name of that man is Bobby Hemmitt. Bobby Hemmitt is a master of occult research. He started lecturing, I believe, in 1992. He continued to lecture around the country in black communities into the post-2000s, post-9/11 2000s. He's still alive and well. He's out there. I see people in comment sections where it sounds like they're talking as if he's dead or something. He didn't die. He's still alive. The occult think tank, which has gone under different names, but that's the name I associate it with. The occult think tank was a black conscious movement during the early 90s into the post-9/11 2000s that stems directly from out of the Afrocentric movement. Now, the Afrocentric movement was a bunch of researchers and historians and authors who emerged out of the post-Black Power era, 60s, 70s, into the 80s. Well, I guess the 70s into the 80s. And then that influenced a lot of the research on Kemet, which is Black Egypt, the true origin of ancient Egypt as a African civilization, as a Nubian civilization. Kemet is the true name that we associate with Africa, the Black Egypt, because when you say Egypt, it denotes the false history of them trying to say that the Egyptians were Indo-Europeans and that Cleopatra was white or something like that, which is totally absurd. And then also when we say Egypt, it also makes us associate Egypt with the post-conquered Egypt after the Mamluks conquered Egypt. The Mamluks were slaves from different non-African tribes who were brought into Egypt as slaves, but they were a warrior caste system similar to samurai in Japan, who rose up and seized political power over Egypt. And when Napoleon came in, he said that he was going to liberate the Egyptians from the Mamluks. And even after the Ottomans conquered Egypt, the Mamluks still retained political influence over the Ottoman rule. So we say Kemet. The Kemetic information is much of what a lot of the Black conscious movement and Hotep studies stems from. What I discovered through my research into Kemet was it led me back to pre-dynastic Kemet, Old Kush, the original world civilization of Nubians, which was rooted in what is modern-day Ethiopia, but Kush was a world empire, which its influence spreads all over the planet, including the Gnostics, who were the original Christians. The Romans killed off the Gnostics, took their teachings, changed it up, and they're the ones who put forth what is modern-day Christianity. It stems from Gnosticism. Now, for those of you who are not black, who are not of African descent, who may be thinking, well, why am I even listening to this? What does this have to do with me? The reality is that the original people of this planet were melanated beings. Melanated means you have a darker hue of complexion. Melanin is concentrated dark matter. It's also the pigmentation that makes your skin darker. Even if you're not fully black, even if you're Hispanic or you come from a country like India where people have darker skin tones, or down in Brazil where you have a lot of indigenous bloodlines, and indigenous people themselves, the Native Americans, had a darker copper skin tone before the colonization and the mass, blending of the bloodline with the white colonizers. Melanin is just what makes your skin tone darker. It doesn't have some kind of alternate connotation. There's a racist agenda in place where people identify being black as something that is bad and something that they themselves would not want to be. This is based on social engineering, MLK Ultra, and this is based on propaganda. There's only one race of people on the planet, that's the human race. The concept of different races and race wars is a form of tribalism. There's not a different species between a white man and a black man and a red man and a yellow man and a brown man. I'm using color hue identifiers because in previous eras, that is what we used. So I will be using those. There's only one race of people. You don't see tigers or lions going, well, that tiger's a different kind of tiger, and attacking that tiger and trying to kill it or lynch it. This is a human phenomenon. We all are part of the same universal human family, which means if you go back far enough in history, the original ancestors of this planet, the original human beings, have to have all been the same apical ancestors. Apical meaning the same throughout us, and the oldest. Our apical ancestors are the original ancestors, which were melanated people. You could call them Nubians. Today, when people say black, black is a false political identifier. When they say you're black, what they want you to enforce upon yourself is that you don't exist. Blackness can be attributed to a state of nothingness, because when you say black, there is no black language. There is no black history. There is no black location or national identity or geographic origin of what is black. Only within the zeitgeist of popular culture can we say that Ebonics is a black language. Can we say that the history of the African people of the planet is a black history? Can we say that the geographic location of the mother continent of Africa is our homeland? But these are all only through the zeitgeist of popular culture. These are meanings we've given to the identifier of black. And for people who are non-black, black is a demonization. No different from when they used to call us tribal savages of the dark continent. They look at us very much the same due to trap music and the political messaging and propaganda of hip hop and rap. Non-black racists view us as savage animals who just want to kill and sell drugs and fornicate based on hip hop's influence, even though it's the most popular music. And many non-blacks will be riding around in their car, going to their corporate jobs, listening to the latest hip hop songs. Hip hop stems from the tribal traditions of African drumming. That's part of why it's so powerful musically. But the original ancestors of this planet, they were a melanated hue of complexion, meaning they were darker in complexion. We don't have, if you take away these false political identifiers of saying that they were black or African, they just had a darker complexion, but they were the original humans. So if I'm a human and you're a human, then we have the same ancestors. If you want to go even deeper, based on Shingon, the attainment of the mind state of universal heritage, regardless if you're Asian or Latinx or whatever you are, I identify your ancestors as my ancestors because I know we're all connected through the shared human family. Some of my most powerful spirit guides are non-black or non-white. I'm half black and half white, but I have spirit guides and patron saints that are non-blacks and non-whites who I consider my ancestors because I know that they're part of the human family. I am a non-racist. If you view me telling you that the original people of the planet were of a black complexion and those are your ancestors, of course, that's probably initially going to be a shock for you. It could be challenging to come to overstand that and eventually understand it. But ultimately, once presented with all the facts and based on your own rationalization, at which point you come to understand that what I'm saying is true, if you choose to view that as something negative that you would not want to attribute to yourself, that means that you're a racist and that you view being black as something that is bad or negative, which is the way you've been socially engineered. And I'm not just talking about white people. I'm talking about all races. There's many non-black, non-whites that are racist because they've been socially engineered to be politically racist against blacks. The ancient mystery system of Babylon stems from this original pre-dynastic Kemet of Old Kush, and even older than that, before Kush. Kush is just the oldest civilization I have found any historical context with which we can view through the lens of our perception beyond myth and lore. If you want to go older than Old Kush, you're looking at Lemuria, you're looking at Atlantis, you're looking at the age of the gods. That's all folklore at this point in mythology, which is a science. But if you want to talk in terms of historical context, the farthest I go back is Old Kush. The Kushites built dynastic Kemet, ancient Egypt, which is what they use as the basis for the beginning of civilization in the modern world. The mystery systems of Kush, which the Kushite priesthood heralded, was passed down to the Kemites. The Kemites no longer wanted to be a part of Kush, so there was a warring between Kush and Kemet. Kush broke down, the empire fell. Kemet was not the kind of mighty warriors of the Kushites. They were eventually conquered by Alexander the Greek. Kemet became a part of ancient Greece. Ancient Greece became a part of ancient Rome. The mystery systems continued to be passed down through the ages. After the fall of Rome, we enter the Dark Ages, where we have the emergence of the barbarians and the Vikings, who did the pillaging and the plundering during the Dark Ages. And then out of that, and out of the medieval period, you have the emergence of the New Age Renaissance of Europe, which was derived from the Spanish Empire of the Moors, who ruled over Muslim Spain. But the Moors bought Celtic slaves in the form of concubines from Arab lords, probably Mamluks or Ottomans, and started to have mulatto children within the Moorish Empire. And those mulatto children eventually overturned the Moorish Empire to the power and control of their maternal bloodlines, which were non-black bloodlines. Moors were black, African, melanated people and ruled over Muslim Spain. But due to the mixing of the bloodlines, these mulattoes overturned the control of the empire. And eventually the Moors were killed, they were quartered, the empire dismantled, and the sacred knowledge of the mysteries that the Moors possessed ultimately ended up in the hands of the Celtic Druids, and that got passed over to the alchemists of Europe, who eventually spread it to the secret societies that are still in effect today. Some things that I say, individuals who might consider themselves experts in certain fields may disagree with. Now, what I would like to say is, as I've stated, there's no such thing as truth until you decide what true is, and belief is more important than fact because there's no such thing as a fact. So even if you think you read a book that told you something or you believe you know something to true, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is true. It doesn't necessarily mean that what I'm saying is true. A lot of times I'm deriving information based on, yes, research, but my own interpretation of events based on what I've gleaned insights into. The Akashic Records is a collective bank of information within the collective conscious of our minds, which contains all the records on our past lives and destroyed civilizations, lost histories. So sometimes I'm pulling shit out of the Akashic records intuitively. I don't like to say channeling because then it sounds like I'm just making shit up. But it is a psychic phenomenon to be able to access the Akashic records. But yes, I've done research. So I'm connecting the dots based on interpretation. One of the most powerful tools of the occult that you can utilize to benefit yourself is the power to define things. That is what the occult is used to disenfranchise you. The greatest way that the occult is used to disenfranchise you is things are defined for you. As I stated, knowledge of self is the only form of knowledge. In the education system, everything they teach you is to get you to evaluate and to believe in knowledge outside yourself. So, with that being said, if you are a hive mind sheep, part of the anthill, and you just live in the colony of society, following as you're told, under overseers like managers and supervisors, you have a boss, people in charge of you, who you've given power to order you around, you likely don't ever define anything for yourself. You probably only go off the definitions given to you, or you go off the definitions social media provides for you. I've been a self-initiated occultist and a master mystic for a long time. So long ago, I discovered the ability to define things for myself. I take ideas, concepts, etymologies, wordologies, expressions, words themselves, and I redefine them. I give them new meanings based on what I want them to mean, and I use those terminologies. That is a power of the occult. That is a reflection of your ability to see through the illusion, through the propaganda, through the social engineering, and to begin to create your own universe, which is the true power of the occult, is for you to create your own universe. Most people are living in a fabricated society, which is a minimized universe given to you. You do not create your own universe. You're a fan of the Marvel universe. You're a fan of the Star Wars universe. You're a fan of the Game of Thrones universe, or the universe that Stephen King gives to you. You don't create your own. I became an author at 16 years old. At one point in my development over the years, in the years after high school, word got around to me through the grapevine that some of my closest friends had said, well, the problem with Cole is he's always off in fantasy land. He needs to get a grip on reality. I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that. I'm glad that they said that. I'll never forget it, ever. I'll never forget that. What's so funny about that is the thing is, they said I was off in fantasy land because all I wanted to talk about was my book series, Peacoat Society, which I've now published 14 books of collectively. Not every one of my books is a Peacoat Society book, but I've published 14 books, and many of them are within my universe of Peacoat Society, or they've been influenced by Peacoat Society directly. The people who said I was off in fantasy land, they've never published a book. They've never written a book. And what's so funny about that is they were the ones living in the fantasy. While I was destroying illusions and going into knowledge of self and creating my own universe and becoming free and achieving a mythic reality to empower myself and liberate my mind, they had opted out to sell out. Not even for fame, not even for the Illuminati shit. Just selling out for basic illusions of living in the quote-unquote real world. Working a job, having a boss, having a wife who's also a boss, having kids, having bills, responsibilities that weigh you down and prevent you from ever achieving your dreams or living out your passions. These were considered realities that I was supposed to exchange in favor of not living in the fantasy world I was off playing in like a child. At one point, I did give up my dream to be a rapper and to make anime and to write my stories before I became published, self-published, before I published myself, before I empowered myself. I was working in Ukiah out in Lake County in bumfuck shit nowhere in California, long fucking drive, working for Staples on a store reset, reformatting an entire store with improper shelving. They lied to us about how much money we'd make to get us to sign on to it. It was an Illuminati contract. When I said, I guess I sold my soul at the meeting, one of the managers at the store said, yeah, you did. While I was there doing that store reset, XXX Tentacion was killed. The rap artist known as XXX Tentacion, Jose Onfroy, who was a divine prophet and a messenger of his generation, he was murdered, assassinated, which I have addressed in my book, Mr. Shock's Box of Blood Clots. X was killed, and even though at that time I hadn't gone deep into his music or his influence, being that he was younger than me, and I had listened to his music during a period of time in my when I was still doing rap, when I decided to peep the music from the different young artists and see what the new wave was. And I had peeped his music and felt like he was definitely one of the best among other artists like the Lil Uzis and the Lil Yachty's and the rest of these mumble rap weirdos. X to me seemed prolific to a significant degree, and it was obvious. When word started going around to us, all the, it was mostly people my age, we were friends and shit working in this combined environment as slaves together. Word starts getting around and people start saying, X just got killed, the video's online. And of course, someone had filmed the video of X in the front seat of the car with his mouth agape after being killed by gunfire, assassinated, for being a revolutionary and a prophet. So, regardless of the fact that I had not been that influenced by him, being that I was older than him, I realized immediately, oh shit, X was a fucking prophet. Not X. Out of all these niggas, they didn't kill X. He wasn't even gang affiliated. They couldn't have killed X. Next day, we get to work. The sad video drops where he prophesies his own death. Holy shit, he's the Tupac of his generation. These are all revelations that start immediately pouring in. That whole day I was listening to X, but also I was listening to all Juice WRLD, Living Legends, and shit like that. And then Juice WRLD also was a prophet who ended up dying as well and was sacrificed. They did a ritual to sacrifice Juice WRLD, where on TikTok they were doing this dance where they were pretending to overdose and seize to Juice WRLD's songs. And it was called the Juice WRLD Challenge. And every single person who did one of those Juice WRLD challenges on TikTok helped manifest his overdose to kill him. He was sacrificed by the music industry because how immensely talented he was. He didn't necessarily say that much politically in the way that X did in terms of being a revolutionary in that way, but he was revolutionary in the fact that he was just an immense talent creatively and had an immense power of Africanality reflected in his music through hip hop and his world impact. That was his power that made him a prophet, and he was sacrificed by the music industry because of that, and because of the drug addiction. That was a avenue for them to kill him. They've used drug addiction to kill and sacrifice other prophets like Mac Miller and ODB. ODB of the Wu-Tang Clan got sacrificed. What happened with ODB is he had achieved true Christ consciousness. He had become the living Osiris. His shit goes deep. I'm not going to go all the way through it, but ultimately what happened was the government started locking him up on trumped up charges. I think some of it was based on like they were getting him for child support stuff because he had a lot of kids out there. Back then, it wasn't like you could just Venmo money around, So I think they were getting him on charges like that. They're arresting him. They got him on probation, which is a way that they use to keep you as a slave so that they can, if you infringe on that probation, it's an easy way to just lock you back up. Someone broke into his house, tried to kill him in the night, tried to rob him at gunpoint. So he was wearing body armor. They arrested him for wearing the body armor because a felon can't wear body armor. Locked him up for that. Eventually, as Wu-Tang rose into fame after the end of the Wu-Tang Forever tour, late 90s, I'm not sure exact date, could have been 2000. ODB ended up getting locked up and did like 3 years or some shit behind bars. They were sending in psychologists in there to fuck with his mind. He was getting targeted. He was getting beat up, got some teeth knocked out. Based on the documentary of Mics and Men, the Wu-Tang doc, none of them were really visiting him. None of them really was seeing him. None of them was really supporting him through that time. When he got out, all the Wu-Tang members had all signed solo deals. RZA had a plan because, you know, him and ODB are cousins, blood cousins, and GZA. He wanted them to, you know, isolate Wu-Tang more to the core family unit and to put out some new shit. But ODB's like, I want a solo deal. Everyone else got a solo deal. Why the fuck you gonna keep me stuck on Wu-Tang? And there's a whole thing with the Wu-Tang thing. As I said, I'm not going to go into all that right now. But so RZA ultimately let ODB sign with, you know, Rockefeller to Jay-Z through Dame Dash. He signed over with Jay-Z. He was initially supposed to work out. He had gained a lot of weight behind bars. He's supposed to work out, get into shape, get his mind right, and then produce an album. Of course, they want him to start producing music right away. At the end of his life, he was gonna fly out to Hawaii, and one of Wu-Tang's OGs, Papa Wu, who's their OG, he was supposed to be going with ODB, and he was packing to get ready to go. Next thing he knew, ODB had been taken to Hawaii by handlers, which are agents of the industry who serve the agenda of the false power holders. These are insiders who are used for things like assassinations and killings and to control individuals. They're famous that, you know, have sold their souls or who have been compromised based on contracts, which is a cult system. He had been taken out to Hawaii and they overdosed him out there. And then they just write off his death as, he was just a rock star who overdosed, a rap star who overdosed. But it was because ODB had achieved the consciousness of becoming a true Heru, a true Messiah, and, you know, had fulfilled the soul of Osiris, which is something that they greatly fear immensely. So they killed him. He was also the heart of Wu-Tang. The impact of Wu-Tang is largely because of ODB. The Wu-Tang members themselves have said ODB was the one who believed in that shit before any of them did. ODB was the one in Fantasyland who believed that Wu-Tang shit and personified it. And because he did, the rest of them, in spite of the fact that they at the time could not, they started to believe it too because of him, and they galvanized around him, and he was the key to their success. But everybody sells out for a deal to the industry. Go watch ODB's Lost MTV interview. Just search Old Dirty Bastard Lost MTV interview. Watch the whole thing. And then go watch his Howard Stern interview and listen to the stories they tell on Howard Stern about how he jumped out in traffic, gathered like 20 people to pull a fucking car off somebody that had been crushed by a car. This nigga was doing Superman shit. That's because he was in the heightened consciousness. He had become Osiris. He called himself Osiris. That's why they killed him. So the power of the occult, you know, it stems from the original civilization of Old Kush, pre-dynastic Kemet, which is why the knowledge of the occult underground emerged from the Afrocentric movement of alternative history, revealing these true origins of Africanality in world history and civilization, which then influenced to a degree the occult think tank. But even if you are non-black, that doesn't matter, because even if you're extremely non-black, most people who are non-black, even if you're not pure, like mainly only Anglo-Saxon for many generations to where you're just white as shit, but even if you go far back enough, you still have Nubian bloodlines, you still have African bloodlines. Even if not, you know, if you're of some of the other races, what we call races, you have ancestors more recently who have Nubian bloodlines and Kushite bloodlines that tie you back to Kush. But ultimately, even if not, when it comes to this occult information, you don't have to be a melanated person, because through occultism, you can imitate a melanated person as the illuminated man or woman in terms of your spiritual energy and your frequency, and you can become a Kushite or a Nubian in your frequency, the same way the secret societies imitate the illuminated man and take on and adopt the role of the melanated man and woman as the illuminated man and woman. So it doesn't matter what your race is. Anybody can access the grand spiritual energy through the pineal gland of the third eye. And like I'm saying, your ancestors are the same ancestors. It doesn't matter if your current incarnation is a quote unquote non-black or you identify yourself as a non-black. The whole race thing doesn't even matter. It's just in terms of context when we're talking about the information, when we're talking about the different cultural element of this stuff. So the occult think tank was lecturers like Bobby Hemmitt going around the country doing lectures, revealing this occult information to black communities, revealing this information and putting this stuff out there, finding out books, that people wouldn't have read, discovering truths that have been concealed, ties between different systems from Taoism to Hinduism to the different occult elements, and dispelling some of the false misnomers that they use to conceal different shit. And then the black occult think tank evolved into what was the quote-unquote black conscious community, or what I refer to as the Hotep movement in the post 9/11 2000s, which I came up in the YouTube era of that by way of the YouTube classroom. I do consider myself alumni of KTL University, Know the Ledge University. I listened to their channel for many years, Melanin Mondays and Third Eye Thursdays, and their different podcasts, the Twin Pillars, Red Pill and Blue Pill, Fear of a Blackamoor Messiah lecture series from Red Pill, Blue Pill's Blood Moonologues, the Law of 44 lectures, Brother Rich, Underground Railroad Productions, The Black Dot, Brother Panic, Ascended Master of the Occult, Bliss in Paradise. Brother Panic has ascended to the realm of the ancestors, who was a student of Bobby Hemmitt. Brother Panic, Professor Griff, different individuals who were featured on Underground Railroad Productions. Brother Rich. So the Black Conscious movement was over on the East Coast. It's still going on today, if you want to call it that. But what I came up in was the YouTube era of this. And Brother Rich was an individual who had started taping the different lectures of the Bobby Hemmitts in the golden era of the occult think tank, and Dr. Phil Valentine and different individuals like that. Brother Rich had gone around and used to film the lectures, and he'd be going around New York with all his tapes and shit. And then he eventually created the Underground Railroad Productions, where he would do phone interviews on radio, doing a radio show, the classic radio show style like Bill Cooper was doing with his radio show, and doing the occult information decodes with the Underground Railroad Productions all audio era. And then that became a YouTube era, which is what I came up in, the YouTube era, which I discovered after watching a Immortal Technique interview exposing the truth about the origins of hip-hop and the different abuse that was occurring within Zulu Nation during that earlier period, which was heartbreaking for me, and hip-hop died for me on that day. But after I'd seen that interview on one of the other conscious channels, that led me to Underground Railroad Productions. I eventually got into KTL Media, watched their channel for many, many years before the channel was scrubbed from YouTube. The archive was totally erased from YouTube. I think they have a new channel up now. But I do consider myself KTL alumni. It's due to the KTL Media YouTube channel and Red Pill and Blue Pill put me on to different individuals that they knew of, that they studied, who they actually attended lectures of, the Dr. Phil Valentines and the Bobby Hemmitts. And that, led me to the Brother Panics and also Brother Rich and Underground Railroad Productions. So that's the era I came up through, was the YouTube era. And then eventually that led to they did a lot of debates between different lecturers. You had a lot of individuals who were taking advantage of people and abusing people within the community, which always happens with individuals using spiritual information. There's always going to be someone who's a pervert or a freak who couldn't get laid enough or has a perversion and wants to use that information and the passion and the ability to inspire people with their personality and charisma to abuse them. So that was occurring with different individuals Not KTL Media or any of them or Brother Rich. None of them had anything like that happening, but other individuals who had been featured on Underground Railroad Productions or who'd done collaborations within the conscious community, who had been in some of these different debates and stuff. Certain individuals had these kind of instances come up. And then there was a counterintelligence thing with this to where they were using the debates to disrupt the movement and break it down. And it's very easy in today's social media climate, and people are very shallow and vain. So it's real easy to manipulate people. They were doing it in the 60s. It's even easier now. So essentially the conscious community basically fell apart from what it was. Now I mainly see a lot of these different conscious channels. It's just a lot of rage baiting. It's a lot of victim mentality. A lot of the channels, what I see happening is they've moved away from the comedic information, from the occult information, from the metaphysical information. And it's really more so just, well, this is what the white supremacists did to us this week. And this is what the white supremacists did to us this week. And this is what the white supremacists did to us this week. And this is why I want to say to the individuals in the Hotep movement who are stuck in this cognitive dissonance of, basically a victim mentality while thinking you're in a warrior mentality, the more attention you pay to what these, these white power militias, these white fragilicists, what they're doing, government level or citizen level civilians, the more you pay attention to these different racial elements of what they're doing, the more power you're giving to those movements and those phenomena. The best way to to totally depower any of those kind of, attacks against you or your community is to totally ignore that they even fucking exist and to focus on your own empowerment and liberation. It's not just turning a blind eye or ignorance is bliss. It's a matter of I'm not going to give any power to it. If it arrives at my doorstep, I'm going to fucking knock it down with every fucking force of might I have. But I don't got to trip off it. It doesn't show up because it doesn't exist for me. I've erased them from existence. When I have a conflict or somebody's an issue for me, if they make it a physical conflict, then it becomes an altercation. And you will be annihilated as an opponent and as an adversary, as my enemy, which you don't want to be. But ultimately, I don't even have to do that because I just erase motherfuckers from existence. If we ever had a falling out or I don't fuck with you or we had some kind of issue, guess what I did? I erased you from existence. You're dead already. So there's nothing you could do. A dead body can't do nothing to me. I don't have enemies. I erase motherfuckers from existence. And anyone acting politically or socially to try to go against me, you don't exist. I don't pay any credence to your existence. I've erased your legacy. People who I used to think were greats in hip hop, different rappers and shit, who I found out they're on some fuck shit that was concealed, I've erased their legacy from my mind. They're no longer titans. The rest of the world might view them as greats. I don't. I don't view them as great. Their legacies have been erased. The best way to destroy a motherfucker is to erase their legacy and never speak their name again. You die twice. You die the day you die, and you die a second time the last time anyone ever says your name, because you become erased from existence and forgotten from history. I erase motherfuckers from existence, and I'll erase you if you make me. Don't fuck with me. I'll erase you from existence. I already have many people. And I'm not saying that to any one person. That's not a threat. For anyone who thinks I'm talking about you, don't be so vain to think I'm talking about you. I don't give a fuck about you. Anyone out there. I don't give a fuck about no one outside of myself and my family. Outside of that, I don't give a fuck about no one. For anyone to be vain enough to think I care what they fucking think or say, I don't. Motherfuckers, they're the ones who care. That's the thing. There have been people who they're the ones who care. I don't. You know what I'm saying? And in this information and in this life, I've had so many people treat me like I'm crazy because they can't see this shit because they don't know shit. Because motherfuckers are stupid and don't know this shit and can't see that they're fucking slaves under a cult regime. I've been prosecuted publicly as being crazy by my own friends, by my own people closest to me in my life. Motherfuckers look at me like I'm fucking Looney Tune Goofy over here. So I've had to adopt a position of ultimate ruthlessness to just stand in my own power and to not be affected by anyone's opinion. I'm Napoleon. This is Bonaparte, bro. Born apart. I'm gonna die alone. So I mob through this life alone. I don't give a fuck about the slice of apple pie America gives you. I'm not gonna settle for some round the way relationship I can get just because it's what I can get, and just settle for some shit I could get so I could have a fake little happy life going to work every day to pay for my kids and having kids and shit. I don't give a fuck about that, bro. I'll continue my bloodline when I build my fucking empire. Until then, I don't give a fuck. I'm not going to sell out for crumbs, bro. Because I don't give a fuck about that little materialism shit. That shit don't mean nothing to me. And that's the difference between me and motherfuckers. People care about this little materialism shit. I don't give a fuck about none of that shit. Nigga, it's renegade or die out here, bruh. This information is the only thing that motherfucking matters. They kill prophets every day, bruh. They kill martyrs every day. They make martyrs out of prophets every motherfucking day. They assassinated Tupac. They assassinated X. They assassinated Bill Cooper. They kill prophets every motherfucking day and make them martyrs, boy. I don't got no time to waste fucking around with you dumb niggas. Got no time to waste listening to the whispers of the sheep. I can't say a wise motherfucker told me this, but one time a motherfucker told me a lion never listens to the whispers of the sheep. And that's true. I know I'm a motherfucking lion, and I don't got time to waste dealing with motherfucking sheep. So get out the motherfucking way or get slaughtered. Metaphysically. By the ancestors. Because I got armies standing next to me at all times. I got armies surrounding me at all times. I got ancestors. Niggas got voodoo on you. Don't make a nigga issue a voodoo contract. I don't fucking contract hitmen. Nigga, it's voodoo contracts. Nigga, Shango will show up at your doorstep. Ogun will show up at your motherfucking doorstep, nigga. Don't get this shit twisted. For motherfuckers who don't got no power of the cult, for motherfuckers who don't got no spirituality, guess what? You a sitting duck out here and you defenseless. Not just against the secret societies, you defenseless against initiates and adepts like myself. You got no power. You got no rituals. You got no altar. You got no spells. You got no hexes. You can't do no voodoo. You can't do shit. Motherfucker, send Satan to your motherfucking doorstep. Boy, have Lucifer drop up on you. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not going to just sit around here too scared to say this shit, waiting like a sitting duck to die. Well, I'm safe in my house if I just be quiet and don't say shit. No, you're not. You're a sitting duck. You know what I'm saying? You a sitting duck if you don't do shit. If you ain't willing to die on the battlefield, you might as well already be motherfucking dead, boy. You can't appreciate life if you're just a sitting motherfucking duck. I ain't finna be no sitting motherfucking duck like Chuck, bruh. My name ain't Chuck and I don't give a fuck. Period, nigga. That's on my Chucks, boy. This that West Side California shit. California, Northern California, backwoods, Redding, California, Shasta County, Mount Shasta, nigga. That's on Eastway, nigga. That's on Shadow Creek, nigga. That's on motherfucking Berry Lane, nigga. That's on VBs on 10s, nigga. I don't give no fuck, bruh. This that real cult shit. This that real straight occult shit, nigga. This that Bobby Hemmett, nigga. This that Brother Panic, nigga. These them libations. These them frequencies. These them vibrations. Everything I say, nigga, is empowerment to self. To I motherfucking self, nigga. And if you are someone who needs to be empowered, it's empowerment to you. But if you're someone who needs to be fucking annihilated, then it's obliteration to you. That's why I speak these alliterations to you, nigga. You either an enemy or an ally, motherfucker. For those people out there who need to be empowered, who are at a disadvantage, I'm putting this knowledge out there so you can empower yourself so it benefits you. But if you're a motherfucker who's an obstacle in any way, whether I know you or you're a stranger or you're an insider or you're an agent, it's annihilation to you by the ancestors. That's on the Nagas. That's galactic federations on you then. That's Nagas, nigga. Then it's the Nagas. Fuck it. It's Shango, Ogun, Obatala, nigga. It's Baron Semity, nigga. Papa Legba, nigga. The fuck you think it is? Shit ain't for play, nigga. This shit is ancient civilizations. This is Mystery Babylon. This is Tiamat. This is the immense goddess Babylon. It ain't no motherfucking joke. It ain't for play. It's the time of the motherfucking hour. The time of the hour is now, nigga. The time of the motherfucking hour is now. There ain't no time to sit back and fuck around with this shit, bruh. I ain't fucking around with this shit no more. It's a campaign, nigga. It's ride or motherfucking die. It's life and death. What's next? The time of the hour is now. Ladies and gentlemen, the time of the hour is now.